In less than a decade, China has come to dominate the world trade arena. And here at the European Business Summit in Brussels, we are joined by the Chinese ambassador to the WTO, Zhenyu. Thank you very much for being with us. And I'm sorry it's so hot in here. It's probably 35 degrees outside and more than that here. The Doha rounds are still going on. What's your assessment? What needs to be done? And how is it going?
Yeah, I think now the Doha round is not going as people expected, although it has prolonged for about more than 8 years. And I think people know very well, particularly in Geneva, people know that what we need, the most important thing is the political will. So in spite of the fact that we have the statement from the G20 summit that we would like to see an earlier conclusion of Doha round, nobody in Geneva actually believed that this could come very soon.
A year, 2 years?
Yeah, now they are starting to have the most optimistic view in Geneva is that probably there might be a window of opportunity sometime next year.
Sometime next year.
But it all depends how the political situations will be by that time. And certainly, I think the good thing is that people are not giving up. Nobody is actually pulling the plug.
You know, one question that was brought up in the panel that you just participated in on trade was the amount of change in China's role. If you look back at 2001 up to 2009, I mean, you kind of went from a minor player to an enormous player. How has that changed the way you're dealing with the Doha rounds?
This Doha round started when China first joined WTO, so they start simultaneously. So for China, of course, there's a learning curve. There's a process to get familiar with this Doha round, and also we are trying to participate more actively in the whole round of negotiations. At the same time, China's trade shares, the total world trade, also increased. By the time we joined WTO, our total foreign trade was about 500 billion US dollars. Last year, it was about 2.4 trillion US dollars. So it's almost 5 times from where we were. But the point is that for this round, we have the mandate, the minister's mandate, the Doha mandate for this round is the development round. And we have to negotiate under this mandate. So what we are going to do is to continue with the mandate and try to complete the job as soon as possible based on what is on the table, and not try to reopen them, not to try to raise the ambition on a particular sector, particularly not on the ambition for market access for a particular developed country. So that is the problem that we are facing now.
Yes, basically you have the US and you have China. All right, I mean, as Pascal Lamy said, if you could negotiate multinationally or unilaterally, as you're dealing bilaterally, it would be kind of... all right, in terms of the global economic recovery, I mean, trade has to be a big driver there. You play a big role in all of that. So what role does China play?
Yes, I think the important thing for China is do its own work well and try to avoid any disturbance, trying to disruption of the economy, and try to maintain a steady progress, economic growth. And we try to overcome these difficulties caused by the financial economic crisis in 2008. And we managed about 8.7% economic growth last year. So we try very hard this year to maintain at the level of 9 to 9.5%. This is our task. And secondly, in order to contribute to the world economy, we have to also keep our economy open and continue the process of reform. I think this is the road we shall never change, because we draw a lesson from the past, from the Cultural Revolution, when the economy was on the brink of collapse. So we started this opening our market, and also to welcome investment from foreign countries, and we encourage our companies to go out, to go global, to make investment outside. As a result, actually, China is doing well in trying to expand its import from other countries. For instance, for the U.S., before China joined WTO, up to last year, the U.S. total export to China increased by 330%.
And what was the increase in? Wasn't it raw materials?
Everything. And while its average export to other countries, the overall increase of their export during that same period was 29%.
So you're saying that the U.S.
China
has access already?
Already, it's a good. And on top of that, based on that, China in this round, in Doha round, we will further cut our agricultural tariff by 20% on applied rate, actual rate, and on non-agricultural industrial goods by another 30%. So that's market opportunities for the U.S. And also for EU, for instance, even with this financial crisis, in the first 5 months this year, EU's export to China increased by 43%. Just in the five months of this year. So there's great opportunities for them, and we'll do this in the Doha round to further open our market. I think that will be good news. And thirdly, we shall expand our domestic consumption, and I think that is the state policy to shift the focus from the dependent more on export, on investment, to more on domestic consumption with export and investment. So I think these policies will help the overall economic growth in the world.
Well, another sticking point for both the EU and the U.S. is the currency exchange rates. I mean, they claim that the yuan is undervalued, and I just was reading something from China that the yuan is overvalued. So what is a comfortable exchange rate? You've already given a little bit of leeway. It is a fixed rate.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the movement of Chinese currency since 1994, China's exchange rate versus US dollar appreciated by about 21%. And while the Japanese yen and the Korean won, they depreciated by about 20 to 40%. So nobody is really taking notice about that. They focus on this.
There's market mechanisms, and there's, you know.
So I think the important thing is not the exchange rate itself, it's the mechanism. And China recently took a major step, try to make it more flexible there. And also the key for the kind of economic imbalance people complain about is the expansion of China's domestic consumption and the U.S. rate of saving. So if the U.S. could try to save more, and that will also contribute to the balance of the economy.
What about just your overall sort of outlook for world trade over the next couple of years and your role in it? I mean, you have very definite targets, and you're not encumbered by a parliamentary or a congressional democracy to change your targets. If you have a plan, you can stick to it. You don't have shareholders. So where is it?
I believe that in the next 5 years, I think there will be a steady growth in the world trade as a whole. In the case of China, we have our perspective. In the next 5 years, probably our total import will increase up to $7 trillion accumulated import. And actually, you have noticed probably over the last 2 years, China's trade surplus reduced by $100 billion per year on a yearly basis. Every year we reduce $100 billion.
That doesn't seem like a lot these days.
Not a lot.
Sorry,
That's a lot.
can't buy that one.
That's a lot. That's 1/3 of China's total this annual surplus. So I think this will help for as a whole, and I believe all these companies will benefit from this.
And finally, what kind of impact and where is the end to the economic crisis? What has this had on China, and how are you getting beyond it?
Yes, I think we had a shock when there was this financial crisis in 2008, and actually China's security market plummeted from 6,000 down to 2,000. Just cut by 2/3, and also there's millions of people unemployed, lost their job, particularly in the coastal areas. They have to return to the countryside, and China's export declined sharply by more than 16%. So this is really have a big impact on China's economy. Of course, due to this timely measure taken by the Chinese government for the stimulus package and try to encourage domestic consumption. So we managed to come out not that seriously.
And earlier,
affected.
basically.
Earlier.
Yeah, because
so we would like to see the situation continue, but the most important thing is that we noticed that for whatever problems, there need to coordinate efforts from all countries in the world. This coordination is most important.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you for being on Insead Knowledge.
Thank you very much.